Hello. So today we are going to talk about verse chorus form, which is the form that drives nearly all of the music that you listen to today. Almost 100% of pop music finds itself in verse chorus form in one way or another. Before we head to that entirely, though, I want to look at where these terms come from just a little bit. Last week, we looked at this piece. We looked at I Got Rhythm. Quick little review here, right? Remember, this was our A, and then this was our second A, and then our B, and then our A. So this was how we talked about A form with this piece. And in jazz music, this part gets repeated over and over and over again. Sometimes with those words, sometimes instrumentalists are improvising on it. This is where you get scat coming from. All these different ideas tend to show up here. What we rarely hear with this piece, however, is this other section. And this happens before we ever hear the I Got Rhythm chorus that we're used to hearing over and over again. And this is the verse. Days can be sunny with never a sigh, don't need what money can buy, etc., etc., etc. But this is the verse. And so even in these American standards, these jazz standards that we've been listening to or that we've been talking about on the last module, they have verses. It's just that they, in many cases, got separated from the chorus to the point where we tend to not hear them so much anymore. But they're there. So there was this portion here that was the verse, and you would usually hear it one time at the beginning, and then you would hear the chorus, and you'd hear the chorus, and you'd hear the chorus, and you'd hardly ever come back to hear another verse. There usually was just one. But this structure existed. So now, as we head into sort of the understanding of what we have today, often what we will run into is something that will look a lot more like this. Well, you'll go verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, etc. So what exactly is the difference between a verse and a chorus? So a verse is repeated music. So the music is going to be similar. The melody is generally what we're talking about here, but you're going to hear repeated music, but it's going to be different lyrics. So the text is going to be different. Whereas with the chorus, you have repeated music and text. So in this case, every time that the chorus comes back, it's going to be the same exact music and text every time. And in fact, this is usually where the message of the song or the hook of the song tends to show up. This is where you get the core of what the song is about. The verse, on the other hand, is going to have one set of lyrics this time, a different set of lyrics this time, and a different set of lyrics this time. And that's often where you get the story. Right, so oftentimes in this music we want to hear some sort of story, and usually, the lyrics of this last verse tend to change the meaning of the chorus a little bit. This is a standard approach to how we tend to deal with these things. So this is how this often works, and this is what we see. So the verse is always the same music but different lyrics, and the chorus is same music and same lyrics every single time. The best place to look at this is actually in hymns. So this is "How Great Thou Art," which if you're a Christian person, you're probably somewhat familiar with. But we can already look at this, and we can look at the text and start to see where the chorus likely is, because we see this text get repeated over and over and over again. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art. So that's generally what's going on there. And then here we have one set of text, a different set of text, and a different set of text. But the melody is the same. O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made, or down here, and when I think that God his son not sparing sent him to die, I scarce can take it in, or down here, when Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. So we're seeing our exact pattern here. We see verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. So there we go. Now, another term that we often hear and matters in this situation is what we call the pre-chorus. So the pre-chorus is something that shows up between verse and chorus. And often it's going to have a different musical material. Sometimes that's just the chord progression. Sometimes that's a new melody, but it's going to feel significantly different. If you go back and you remember here, right? Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the worlds thy hands have made. And then it's the same melody. This, if we were going with our letters, this would go A, A. I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. So in a pre-chorus situation, this gives us a chance to introduce some different musical material, vary things up a little bit. Sometimes the text is varied. Sometimes it's not. So sometimes the pre-chorus will be the same every time that it comes back, same text that is. Sometimes it will actually be different material. For this, we're going to look at Imagine by John Lennon. This is a great example of this. So we can already, well, I kind of ruined it for you in how I took the picture here. But this piece has a chorus down here. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you'll join us and the world will be as one. Same lyrics, same text. Now, if we're being really picky, when you come back here, we start to change this word just a little bit, but on the whole, it's very much the same. So now we have all this other information to deal with, and we can start to see some patterns, just even without listening to it, right? We can see that we got this word imagine showing up 3 times, but conveniently this is paragraphed apart so that we can kind of see what's happening here. So what we've got here is we've got, this is our verse. Imagine there's no heaven, it's easy if you try, no hell below us, above us only sky. So that's really, right, like how we talked about, that's really AA. I didn't vary it super well, but really it's 2 phrases there, A and A. And that is the same as down here. Imagine there's no countries, it isn't hard to do, nothing to kill or die for, and no religion too. Right? So then we've got 2 phrases. So this is clearly our verse. But then we've got this chunk here in the middle. Imagine all the people living for today. And then here it is again. Imagine all the people living life in peace. Slightly different. But this is what we would call the pre-chorus. And you can see it best right here. So we go verse, pre-chorus, chorus. John Lennon, as would be expected, varies this form a little bit, where instead of going verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, he goes verse, verse, chorus, verse, chorus. But the pattern holds the rest of the way. So we have verse, and then we have pre-chorus, and then we have chorus down here. So this is a great example of how a pre-chorus works. Melody is a little bit different. Chord progression changes. If you listen to the recording, which I hope you'll do, the accompaniment changes just a little bit there. So it's a chance to sort of change things up and prepare us for the chorus. And the last thing that we need to learn about, the last term we need to get in our heads, is this thing called the bridge. So the bridge gets added later on. So folks who were doing a lot of this were following this pattern. They'd go verse, chorus, verse, chorus, and we're just going to pretend they do 2. And right around here, they knew they needed something to finish it off. They needed maybe something that was going to be what we think of as sort of being the twist or the turn that sort of changes the context of the chorus a little bit. But they didn't want to necessarily write another verse. It didn't need all of that. So they created this thing that was called the bridge. So the bridge is new music, new text, and it always feels a little bit transitory or unstable. It doesn't really settle like we think it would. And this gave artists the chance to do a chorus and then a short little bridge, and then come back and do the chorus one more time. This we hear a lot. It deserves a different color, doesn't it? So that's what you have there. And the bridge would be different than the pre-chorus. It doesn't get repeated. A bridge only happens once in a song. So for this, to sort of see a bridge, we're going to look at a piece by Charlie Puth called Change. It features James Taylor. It's a really great song. But we can sort of see the structure happening here already, right? This does, by the way, also have a pre-chorus in it. It's a short little one, but we'll show it to you. So 1, 2, 3, 4 clearly is not really part of the song. Why are we looking down on our sisters and brothers? Isn't love all that we got? There's our A. Don't we know everyone's got a father and mother? The day we know we're all the same together, we can make that change. So this right here is our little pre-chorus. It gets a different color. I'll give it yellow. That's what we've been doing. So we have our verse here and a little pre-chorus, and then we're going to do another verse. Look around, there are too many of us crying and not enough love to go around. What a waste, another day, another good one dying. But I know that the world will change the day we know we're all the same. So we got verse, pre-chorus, verse, pre-chorus. Then we get our actual chorus. Why can't we just get along? If loving another's wrong, then how are we supposed to get close to each other? We gotta make a change. And you can see this is here, and then it shows up here, and it shows up here, right? So this is definitely our chorus. And there's another verse and another pre-chorus that shows up here. And then we do a chorus, and then right here, this right here is our bridge, right? Because notice it's between two choruses. It's between these two choruses here, but it's not long enough to be a verse. And when you listen to it, it's just super, I know we could break apart. We don't have to go that way. Not today. It goes in the chorus. So you can feel how it's kind of got that unstable feeling, right? It doesn't settle. It doesn't finish smoothly. And so this is the perfect example of what we would call a bridge. Shows up once, right at the very end. So this is the standard structure that you see these days. So it goes verse, pre-chorus, optional, and then chorus. And then that repeats as many times as you want it to. And then you have a bridge. And then you have a chorus. So this is the structure that we run into in almost all of our music today. So go back, listen. I'm gonna put up links to all the songs that we just talked about today so that you can listen to them and pay attention to those little bits in there. And then your job is to go find a song that has this, identify the verse, the pre-chorus, the chorus, and the bridge. Have fun.